Welcome back. And as we kickstart the first leg of our conversation this morning, we're taking a look at security, particularly in Nigeria's northwest. Of course, the armed forces have made progress, with the fight against banditry and terrorism in the last couple of months with, thousands of arrests. According to reports, they may have arrested about 8,000 plus, neutralized 8,000 plus terrorists in the last 11 months in 2024. So how has that impacted significantly on stability in Nigeria's north? And that could be relative because of also the emerging threat of the Lakrawa group, which is said to be spreading fast in the north. Let's get up close with the situation of things, particularly in Nigeria's northwest. And joining us to give us an aerial view, so to speak, is the Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, who joins us virtually this morning. Good morning, Major General Buba.
Good morning to all of you there in the studio, and thank you for having me this morning.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for finding time to join us despite your very busy schedule, and we appreciate the work of the armed forces in fighting terrorism and ensuring that significantly Nigerians can sleep with their two eyes closed. So let's start this way. Major Buba, about 8,000 plus terrorists have been neutralized in the past 11 months. That's significant. But at what cost has this come? Because of reports also that members of the armed forces are being shot and killed, and of course that terrorists are, taking over military camps in some parts of Nigeria's northwest. So at what cost has this come?
Okay, thank you once again, and that's a very excellent question. Now, what I would like to say is that, you see, terrorists exist for the sake of war. And for the sake of peace, it's our responsibility to continue to kill them, dismantle their networks, and create conditions whereby they can not carry out acts of terror or harm our citizens. Now, this is the focus of our operations, even though we have these operations in several we have several theaters scattered all across the country. But our focus this morning, like you said, is in the Northwest. Now, what I would like to say about the Northwest is to first say that, look, we've been in a perpetual state of counterinsurgency and counterterrorism war in this country for over 10 years, counting from 2009. And within this period, we have grown in several capacities, ranging from our motivations, our recruitment. We have the right recruitment. We have improved in the area of our training, and also in our deployments. Indeed, we have narrowed the gap between commanders with battlefield experience and commanders without such experiences. And we have motivated our troops using reward and sanction, over the years. What does that mean in today's fight? It means that with what we have done in the Northeast, where we have decimated over 90% of the threat, that is the terror groups that existed in the Northeast. With these capacities that we have developed over the years, the terrorists that we now have coming up in the Northwest, where so to call the Lakurawas, they have come at such a time that, look, we have developed such capacities that we will definitely extinct them within the shortest time possible. As I speak to you, the reason that this has happened is because there was indeed a gap at the time of which there was this coup, and that gap allowed them to penetrate into the country because we did not have cooperation with our neighboring country, particularly Niger, and then we have the other ones, the Burkina Fasos and so on. But now we have repaired we have repaired, so to say, that situation. And we are now having joint operations once again with our neighboring country, that is Niger in this particular instance. Now, with the kind of cooperation that we have, we are definitely going to decimate them and take them off the battlefield, just as we have done in the northwest, in the northeast.
All right, General. Again, Major General, thank you so much for your service and for everyone who is serving Nigeria. It's a lot to put your life on the line for the citizens and the sovereignty of the Nigerian state. That is why we're wearing this emblem to show that support and to show solidarity with the military as far as the sacrifices they are putting out is concerned. But walk us through some of the things that have been raised as concern in terms of funding. When we look at the budget, for instance, the president will be presenting budgets on Tuesday, and we know most of the time security and defense takes a chunk of that budget. On one hand, people are saying there's so much spending, we're not seeing as much result. On the other hand, the military is saying this money may not be enough because of the expenses required to secure a complex state and a great nation like Nigeria. So help us bring some kind of an understanding of this, or bring a nexus between these two arguments, establish to us what exactly is the position of the military as far as funding is concerned.
Well, when it comes to the issue of funding, we all know the situation the country is faced with today. And we also realize that we cannot get everything that we want, And that brings me to say something that's very cardinal to this counterterrorism and counterinsurgency war that we're faced with. Winning this war depends not only on the military weapons and finances. It largely depends on the people. This is something that we must take home. Yes, the funding is good. Yes, we want more funding, but like I just mentioned, that winning the war depends not just on the military weapons and finances. The people really matters. We are hoping for improved funding. I believe the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General C.G. Musa, has made the case, and I believe that going forward, we'll may get better deals, to enable us improve on the kind of equipment and so on that we require. Technology is so important. We are seeing what's happening in the Russian-Ukrainian war. We've seen what has happened in the Palestinian-Israeli war and so on. So we can see how technology indeed has played a role. And to get some of these things, requires funding. And many of these things that we see, they are not off-the-shelf equipment. There are things that you pay for, and then it takes time to get here, and then you receive the money in naira. You have to convert it to dollar to go get it, and then also you find out that the world is not at a good time right now. There's so many areas where conflict is going. So when you even want to buy certain things, they tell you that, look, you have to wait to another 3 years, another 2.5 years, because there's high demand for those things and so on. So these are the issues, So let me leave it at that. I believe the Chief of the Defense Staff has made the case.
And Major General Buba, that's related to the follow-up I wanted to come with before Jeffrey's question about budgeting, because one wonders how budgeting has impacted significantly on the fight against insurgency and banditry in Nigeria's north. How much of armored personnel carriers do the armed forces have? The Super Tucano jet that was projected to be a game changer in the fight against terrorism. Are there bulletproof vests available for members of the armed forces, such that we stop hearing reports about members of the armed forces being killed while at the battlefront? And we've had quite a few of that in the last couple of years. So I want you to speak to that. Although you say that in Borno State that the insurgents have been significantly decimated, but just a few months ago there were reports of explosion, and just days ago there were also reports of IEDs killing a certain number of people. So I want you to speak to these very important issues about securing the impenetrability, so to speak, of members of the armed forces who have families, back here at home while they are at the battlefront.
Okay. Well, there's there's a lot in what you've asked there, but let me see if I can remember all. You see, what we've done now is that we have been able to deny the terrorists the ability to carry out major offenses. You understand that one? Now, we now have mostly, particularly in reference to the northeast and the northwest at the same time, is that what they are doing is carrying out low-level skirmishes and targeting soft targets because of the cowards that they are. There is no situation in which I think you said that they got into a military camp. No. That doesn't happen anymore. That maybe happened in the past. And like I said, we've been in this war for over 10 years. We've grown in a lot of capacity. Those things don't happen no more. So what they do is this low-level skirmishes, particularly targeted at soft targets so that they can grab the headlines. That's what they do. Now, we retain operational flexibility, and in retaining operational flexibility, what does that mean? It means that we have an ability to respond to different events and to project force according to our strategic needs. So this gives us the advantage over them constantly. And I will tell you here that anytime that we have engagement with this terrorist, what we have as outcome is several terrorists dead or surrendering. So we've upped our game. We know how to handle these situations. And then the terrorists also know that they bear the consequences should they choose to escalate the security situation any further. So, I'm hoping I've answered all your questions, but to round it all up, I want to say that things are on an upward trajectory from what was attainable at the beginning of the insurgency or the terrorism. And indeed, we're in a better place today than at any previous time.
I think that's really great to hear. That's what we really want to hear. I'd like you to quickly speak to interagency cooperation. I know that has been a major issue time and again. How well do the armed forces cooperate, share intelligence, work together within themselves? I think that's vital to the success of this war against insurgency, terrorism, what have you. Also, I wanted to speak to the back and forth with Amnesty International, saying 10,000 have been killed since the beginning, because you talked about 2009 when Nigeria started this fight against insurgency. So has that been resolved yet? Because all we have is Amnesty saying 10,000, you saying, well, that's not true. But what sort of evidence do both parties have to prove that? And also, there are those who fear that the civic space is being stifled. For example, journalist Fisai Sheyombo arrested by the army, and people thought this is an investigative journalist. The army or the military in general should be providing support to him. So it's quite packed. But these are some of the concerns being raised.
Okay. Let me start with talking about Amnesty International. We found their report very shocking, lacking in merit, and mischievous. Now, I will add that they say about 10,000. Come on, how many people have we even arrested since the beginning? Anyway, the thing is, you see, we even have, as a deterrence, to troops who carry out unethical conducts in the course of operations, we have standing court-martials to try them. We have standing court-martials to try them. And, the Nigerian army is a professional force. We work within the international humanitarian law and the laws of armed conflicts. We have rules of engagement which we abide by, So, but we have said to Amnesty International, you know what? Come forward with what you have. Come and substantiate your claim, and then we will set up an inquiry into it to authenticate whether or not these facts exist or not. Well, there's nothing to hide. So if they know if they know that they have this, they should come forward. We have invited them, so we're waiting for them to come forward. Now, for the journalist, you called his name in the Niger Delta, who came up with accusations against the military. First and foremost, I feel that's very unfortunate that he will go on national TV to slander the image of the armed forces in that manner, and that he has equally exhibited his myopic view of understanding the issues in the Niger Delta, particularly when it comes to the crude oil theft. Recently, the commander-in-chief and president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he gave the marching order to the chief of defense staff, General C.G. Musa, that we should go there and make sure that we ramp up the country's daily crude oil production to over 2 million liters per day. And at the time that these instructions were given some few months ago, it was about 1.2. What do we have today? We have over 1.8. What did we do when that instruction? We did about 5 things, and that is what has brought us to what we have today. First, we set up a centralized command. And then we asked the IOCs for more transparency. We got into engagement with the stakeholders there. We got into engagement with the locals. You can't do this without the locals. Then also we began to monitor the cases that we've taken to the judiciary to ensure that justice is properly disposed. So all these things work together. And then for somebody to say, if he wants to go and join SSS, he should go and join SSS. IB is looking for clout or clout chasing or however they call it, But I think he's very myopic in his views. That's the point I have to say.
All right, General, the argument about myopism or clout chasing is debatable. He stated his position. I'm sure everybody has their angle as to what this relationship...
And we have taken ours too.
It's okay. So everybody has. But at the end of the day, we're all working together. The military is working. The journalists are doing their job.
I hope we are working together.
No, we are actually working together. I can state it for a fact. Maybe a misunderstanding somewhere will sort this out at the end of the day. But that brings me to the next question, General, which has to do with, is the military, because in your opening statement, you had mentioned that it's not about weaponry, it's not about machinery, it's critically about citizens' involvement and support for the armed forces. Is the armed forces in itself doing enough to win the confidence of citizens to support them, given some of these optics that are not quite good?
Fantastic question. We are overdoing it, sir. If you go to many of these communities, where we are operating, we've done boreholes, we've carried out medical outreaches, we've carried out quick impact projects, we've built schools, they're countless. They're countless. They're countless. So we're doing our best. But the question is, what is the gross domestic attitude towards this, our counterinsurgency and counter-terrorism operations in this country? What is our attitude towards it? And this we need to look into. Everybody that just gets an opportunity to say something will just come up and just talk one nonsense. I think we need to work on that. We need to work on that.
Well, General, you sound really angry to have used that word. And again, goes back to what Jeffrey said about working together. I'm not sure that the average Nigerian would see the military and say, I want the military to fail, because at the end of the day, these are the people responsible for you going to bed at night, at least sleeping with your 2 eyes closed. I mean, the average Nigerian out there supports the military. But now that you talk about the communities, Okwama comes to mind. And perhaps, is there now closure to the Okwama incident? Has there been closure now? And is Okwama free? Is Okwama able to breathe as it is right now? And have you gotten justice for the officers and men?
When we come to the Okwama incident, I wouldn't say that we have gotten justice. We will get justice when we've arrested all the perpetrators, and then justice is served to them, is administered to them, then I believe we will have some justice. But for now, that we haven't arrested them, I can't say that we have justice yet.
But is it true that the leader of Okwama died in custody?
Please, I read this thing on the pages of the newspaper. You will kindly allow me to get a confirmation on this and get back to you.
All right.
Hello?
Yeah, just important to get that confirmation. So definitely we'll be on the lookout for that information.
Yeah.
But we appreciate that you've opened that line of communication.
Just before we let you go, very quickly,
so much.
Major General Buba, in the last 1 year, we've seen the armed forces help rescue some Chibok girls. Tell us if there is any hope that Leah Sheribu can be rescued. It's been a number of years. There are reports that she's now 21 years old in captivity.
Now, the story about Leah Sheribu is a very sad one and very touching one. And it's very sad that till now, we haven't been able to get her out. But what I know is we have deepened our operations far into the Sambisas, into the Timbuktu Triangle, and even as far as the Tumbus, which we have along the Lake Chad region. In the course of these operations, we've been able to get free several of these Chibok girls, and not just them, several other innocent citizens that are unknown. We will continue these operations until we get her out. We are hoping that she's still alive. We will continue our operations until we get her out and back to the warmth of our family.
Hope is a fine place to anchor this conversation, and we must thank you very much. We've been talking with the Director Defense Media Operations of the Nigerian Armed Forces, Major General Edward Buba. Thank you for your time on the Morning Brief.
Thank you so much for having me once again.